Welcome back to Leaders Are Readers. This is your host, Doc Ant, and with me, I have two very, very, very special friends on. The first is my normal co-host, Daniel van Zyl from Cape Town. Hi, Daniel. It's great to see you again.
I
But then I want to tell you the surprise for tonight, the one and only Robert Hollis. Oh, what a privilege to have the man on with us tonight. And I'm
Thank you, thank you, thank you,
so
thank you.
forward to this because we are going to be looking at this book, The Greatest Miracle in the World. So maybe just by means of explanation for the people that maybe have not heard of Robert Hollis. Robert, just give us your one line of passion. What are you passionate about in life?
I'm passionate that someone shared with me how to find wisdom, and I'll spend the rest of my life making sure I get it to as many people as I can.
Fantastic. Daniel, what are you passionate about?
I'm passionate about receiving that message from Robert and then sharing that also to as many people as I can.
Fantastic. Well, as you guys know, for me, it's helping shape others for significance. And how do I do that? Administering wisdom through discernment and just do so by grace. That's what I do. So, guys, tonight is about what we are here to discuss is to say we've picked up this term in this book called a rag picker. But I want to start off with Robert. Where did you get hold of this book? How did it come into your life? Please tell us your story, and then I'm going to ask Daniel the same. Robert, please tell us.
Yeah, at one of the darkest moments in my life, this was probably the beginning or the end of 1986. I was a master automotive technician. I worked for the best owner of race cars in the world, Roger Penske. Everything in my life was going amazing. I just loved everything about it. I had a clear goal of wanting to become a crew chief and for one of Roger Penske's race cars. And all of a sudden I was, we were working for Toyota Research and Development, and Toyota just came out with a minivan. That was a front wheel drive minivan, and people sat over the engine. It was pretty interesting when you think of vans like that. And they were having braking problems because there was no weight in the back. So we pulled it in and raised it on a hoist, and it was like chest high. And then there was three other mechanics, and we were sort of like racing to see who could take the tire off fast enough. It's like when you hang around competitive people, you always are. And what happened, as soon as we did that, the van started tipping because of it being so, and my first reaction was to stop it. And I lost. I lost really, really bad. It pinned me up against my toolbox, hyperextended my right leg, and just ripped up everything in my knee. And they rushed me to the hospital. And the first thing that the doctor ER came in, and he felt my pants, and he said, "Your leg's bleeding internally." He said, "It's like your pants is like a tourniquet." And he looked at me and he said, "You're a mechanic?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Not anymore." And I just remember being put under and then waking up and my legs, all tore up and yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. And so I lost my identity, because if someone usually will walk up to you and say, "Hey, what do you do?" I'm a master automotive technician. I work for Roger Penske on his race cars. We get a lot of significance and admiration and stuff from doing that. And now I'm nobody. And I took it too personal. I told my then again girlfriend, which now is my wife of 40 years, but at that time I told her that I didn't feel like I could support her and take care of her. So we lived in California. I sent her back home to Montana. And then I was a single father from a previous marriage. And, I called his mom that abandoned us and said, "Can you take care of your son?" That was very, very, very difficult. And then just consistently had so many bills, making like $3,800. Now my income's down to $900 on government assistance. And they're telling me that I got to learn to do something else because I can't go back to be a mechanic. And so I can't tell you how dark my life was. A number of times I thought, if I wasn't on this planet anymore, it probably would be better for the people that even love me, and it just was really, really, really dark. And a friend gave me a call and said, I met this guy, and he showed me a check for $62,000, and he's only 5 years older than us. And he's looking to train people how to make 6 figures a year. And he says, do you know of anyone? And I said, me.
Okay.
Me. I wanted to meet this guy, even though I had a cast on my leg. I told him I'd drive him to go see this guy. And after he shared with me what he was doing, he could tell in my, like one part was asking me to get involved. And I said, I don't have electricity in my home. I'm hiding my car from the repo man. I have an eviction notice. And it's funny how some people that will listen to this, when someone asks you how you're doing, sometimes you make a mistake by doing that. It's like this person could actually not only suck the oxygen out of the room, but when you shake their hand, you actually see the lights dim. And I was that person. I was an energy vampire. And oh, woe is me, and I'm a victim, and I have excuses and all this stuff, and I had a learning disability of being dyslexic, and so now that I have to recreate myself, now I'm mentally saying, well, how can I do this? And all the optimism that I had 9 months prior to that was I was going to conquer the world. And it took all that tragedy and the decisions that I made that this was the end of my life, not the beginning of my life. And so as talking to him, he could hear the verbs in that my vocabulary and the words that I was collecting and saying, where he knew that my mind was really messed up. And so he said that, listen, I'll mentor you and show you how to do this, but I need you to go to the library and pick up this book. And he says, I need you to read it, and then I need you to call me. And he grabbed the book, opened it up, and he put his phone number in the book. And that was the very first time in my life things were so bad that I didn't come out of my mouth and say, I'm dyslexic. I have difficulty retaining. It's hard for me to read. My life was so bad, I just said, I'll go get it right now. And I did. And it took me probably a day and a half to read the book. And I read it over and over, paragraph, looked up words that I didn't understand. And of course, when I got to the end of that book, I just could not stop sobbing. Because in one thought of me making it through that book, my life went from, I don't think that it could get any worse, to now everything's a miracle. I'm unique. I have someone that's helping me, my imaginary friend, that all things that are possible. And it's not that I didn't hear this stuff before. It's just, I isolated myself. I took myself away from the things that gave me most joy. And I kept just focusing on how there was no hope in my life anymore. And so it made such an impact on me that I found out that Og Mandino actually had some other books. And immediately I went into this mentality. I tell people this all the time, is that, I got down on one knee and I just said, listen, I'm going to dedicate a year to try to outgive God. And the reason that I said that is consistently I was getting these thoughts that I had to think of my biggest goal, my biggest imagination, something that was so ostentatious, think big, that it would be something that I would have to dedicate the rest of my life to doing. And I know that some people could say, well, it's impossible to outgive God. I've just been trying since I got that book.
So that
Yeah, so
literally
of
was a
course,
game changer for you. It just changed your
oh,
life around.
there's no book that's impacted me more. I know some people say that their favorite book is the Bible. For me, the promises, there's certain verses within the Bible that are my basics of life.
Yeah.
But I'm not a biblical scholar at all. But I am at imagining a life where each and every day, if I'm touching and finding the right people at the right time, because I can't tell you in 37 years how many times I promoted this book and simply asked people to read it and get back to me. And in 37 years, that list is small. It is so small. And so, you know, that's the craziness of our lives. You know what I mean? That you got 5% of people on the planet that actually is constantly thinking that I need things to change and I need them to change right now.
But you know what, Robert? What happened was that, yes, your life was at the timing was right. What I can hear is that this book
Amen.
coincides with timing. There's just no doubt about that. However, you still exercise the choice to take action. Many people will get to an invite like this and go, ah, and they just discard it. You still
Yeah.
took action because change literally is fueled by action.
Amen.
That's the bottom line. So thank you for
Yeah,
sharing that.
I tell people all the time, if you really think about the world and people that are successful, like you, Dr. Daniel, I love hanging around you guys. I have a philosophy, and you have, you know, more education than I do. And I have this thought theory that, you know, when everyone talks about the book that's their favorite book, the one that had this significant emotional event on them to get them to actually imagine that all things are possible. When I ask people what their favorite book is, and people tell me what their favorite book is from very successful people, I've come to the theory that it wasn't the book. It was the mindset that I'm not going to live like this anymore. And they made the decision ahead of time going, I'm not making any excuses. I'm gonna change my life. And then when the student's ready, the teacher appears.
Right?
Someone like Dr. Ant or Daniel walk up and say, "Hey, you should read this. This will make a big difference in your life." And I thank God, I really mean that my mentor at that time, Bill Gould, actually could see that if I didn't change my perspective, if I didn't change my paradigms, if I didn't change the way I thought about me
Mhm.
and my future, there wasn't anything that he could teach me.
Oh, well done. You know, for me, it's a question of right time, right perspective, but still it was change fueled through action. So I want to thank you for that, Robert. I want to hear from Daniel. Daniel, where did you get hold of this book? Please talk.
Well, it also starts basically on what they call a sad note. You know, you go to that dark places and where you're like, man, I know I can do better. I know I can change myself, but how do you do that? And I mean, I've known about Robert since probably November. No, it must be in 2014. When I first heard of him, or first get influence, or not influence, to see some of his videos and to connect with him in that way. And I don't know how I got to this book, but what I always do is in my books, I write the date. Whenever I buy a book, I write a date on it. And this one says 27th of June, 2016. So probably in 2016, June somewhere, I know that what Robert always does in his YouTubes and his teachings is he would go and say, listen here, for the people who's in a dark place, who question themselves, go and read this book. And that is where I decided, okay, Robert says I must go read the book. Okay, if Robert says I must go read the book, I better go get the book and read the book. And the first question he always asks is like, and Robert, I can clearly remember in you actually also did a podcast or something that we were in the community that we were involved in that time when you did your teachings or the teachings that you did. You said you must get the book, read the book, and come back to me and tell me how many times you need to read the God memorandum. And that was done on a specific way. And I'm like, why would I ask that? It's like, and I know you said like read the book, the instructions is in the book. And that's how I basically got involved in actually reading the book. It's like, well, Robert says it, read the book. And I mean, you listen to his story. I mean, man, if I'm now at the dark place like that, I've got, as you Robert always say, you got stinking thinking. If you got stinking thinking, and Robert said he read the book and he changed that, well, maybe it can help me. Let's get the book and read it. So that's how I got hold of the book. Say, well, listen here, order it, get it. I mean, it's simple. And he says, oh, it's a short book. And yes, it was a short book. And yes, the instructions is in the book. And if you don't read the instructions, you're not going to do it right. And yeah, then I start reading it, and the first few chapters was like, wow, okay, this is interesting. But then you get to chapter 9.
The meat.
Yeah, whole different ball game after
Daniel,
that.
what a great story, because obviously Robert influenced you. 2 years later, you got the book, but I bet you again, your time was not 2014, your time was 2016.
Yes,
because
exactly.
It is all about the timing, and that's really what it's about.
Yes.
And then he introduced you to that.
Yeah, and to add to that is I wasn't ready. If he would have given me the book in 2014, like, it's like just a book. I'm not going to read that one now. And it is, as Robert say, it's when and I mean, you can speak for yourself as well, your experience. I mean, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. It is what. And to add to that is, I've been yearning to have a teacher or a mentor to show me things that I need to do to make me as a better person. Basically, since I would probably say 2003, because in the middle of 2003, I went to England to do some work there, and it's like that working holiday thing that you can do, because I was working at basically in a dead end job in a shopping center, and I was like, and I got this opportunity to go to England, and I was like, yeah, should I go? Should I not? I said, no, let's go, and I went there, and I got teaching. A guy taught us there how to do door-to-door sales. Now, not the easiest in the world, but that sort of
good luck.
That sort of like pricked me. Is like, I like to work with people. I like to that challenge of there's a stranger. How do you connect with somebody and then become friends immediately, like that? And to sort of like, you have to sell something now to them. It's like, how do you do that? Not easy, not interesting. And I was like, yeah, there might be a better way than this. And that was sticking in my mind the whole time. So it's basically, I asked the question basically 10 years even before I met Robert. It's like, send me somebody that can teach me to do it the right way.
And no, Robert, I want to give Daniel kudos on one thing. Whenever I ask him that something that seems challenging, he says, let me see what my mentor says. I'm going to go to Robert. But that to me shows the practicality that he honestly has not only been influenced by you through this book, but when he needs advice, there's one man he wants to listen to. And I think that whole thing of it's just about like a father-son relationship in a sense, but it also is a peer-to-peer acceptance of one another. But what it is, like you said, the student was ready and the teacher appeared. Well, I want to tell you.
Well, I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have met you without Daniel. So
that's it.
And then met your wife, and it's just amazing.
And the only reason why I always say is like, let me ask you, Robert, is because I don't want to wait 30 years to learn what Robert has gone through all the crap, and then tell you, okay, Doc, and just wait 30 years. I still need to learn this.
Absolutely.
So I go to the source and say, well, Robert, what did you learn from that? Just give me the short answer so that I can. Because Ant's got the answer.
But you know what? Holding up this book, I got introduced by Daniel van Zyl. Now, as you can see, the fruit is on the one call tonight. That from Robert it went to Daniel, from Daniel it went to me, and it is about time. Because 42 years in business, highly successful executive, helped the company go to billions in a short space of time. And then that company lost everything. But because I believed so much in that company, I put everything into it. I lost everything after 42 years in business. And boy, you speak about darkness, Robert, you know, with humility to realize that you sell your jackets that you used to wear on your fancy stage and when you was a motivational speaker to people, you sell your fancy shoes because you have to eat. Oh boy, that's when
Yeah.
that's when times are tough. That's when you really realize material value means nothing. And how do you
I
pick
actually,
yourself
I
up?
actually, I actually believe now, looking back at all the darkest moments in my life, is whatever a person wants to believe, if you're actually praying and surrendering and asking for help and guidance, and you surrender and say, listen, I need you to nudge me. If I'm not listening, hit me upside the head with a 2x4. I'm giving you all the authority to do that. And then you don't realize that you've been praying that for quite a while. And then all of a sudden a van falls off a hoist.
Yeah, a little bit bigger than a 2x4 though.
It's like, oh my God, did I ask for this? And it's like, it's just that divine things that happen to you. The meme that I always have in my imagination is Jesus is on one leg and behind him is this big, giant teddy bear. I mean, as big as him, you can't see it. But in front of him is a little girl, and she's got a very small teddy bear, and he's got his hand out. And he's just like, if you just let go of that little teddy bear and give it to me, I'm going to give you the big one.
Absolutely. But you know what? It's letting go. Absolutely
Yeah.
letting go. And however, the general trend, the trait that is now connecting all of us is adding value. Because we've seen
Yes.
how this book is not about you, it's actually about others. But
It
you
is.
have to go through the sequence yourself first. And that was one of the conditions that I found fantastic when Simon Potter said, dude, before you speak to anybody, please, you go through your due diligence and you find out what this can do for you. So, Robert, when it comes to mindset, it starts with you, doesn't it? It does not start
It
with the
does.
other person. Talk to us about
Yeah.
it.
Well, it's to me, I'm an automotive engineer. I tell people that I'm a geek from the dork force. So everything in my life has always been you attempt to do something that you believe that would give you a desired result. And if it doesn't, you're just closer to getting to your dream and your goal. So it was Thomas Edison that had that famous quote that, reporters said, is it true that you failed 10,000 times? And he says, I've never failed. I found 10,000 ways that it didn't work. And what I find amazing about that simple thought is that each thing brings you to something else that brings you to something else that brings you to something else. And then there's this big magic that happens where you feel like you're out of the mental capacity to figure out what you need to do next. And so then what you do is you get with one other person or two other persons. And so now all of a sudden, instead of 3 minds, there's 4 minds or more minds here. And so then the ideas start bouncing around, and now you come up with the exact thing that you desired. But it even gets crazier than that. You actually now start experiencing a lifestyle that you didn't imagine.
Okay.
You didn't imagine because you were willing to just continue to plant seeds. So if you plant seeds all the time, everywhere in the world, then all of a sudden one day you see, wow, I got a harvest in Africa. I have a harvest in Hungary and Romania. I have another harvest happening in the Philippines. And it's like all of a sudden you just got this stuff growing all over the place. And I recently, Charlie Munger just died. Probably a month or two now, Warren Buffett's best friend. If you ever watch any interview with both of them, Warren Buffett always says that Charlie Munger is way smarter than him. But really what they did is they had this synergy of how they did things, right? And so listen to these two questions, because now I've been trying to track down everything that Charlie Munger said. It's valuable now that he's gone. That was valuable when he said it.
Yes. But that's how life works. That's how it works.
Right. But he says these two things to a business owner, and then he gives them the result to it. So the first question he says to people is, if you stop doing what you're doing, whatever's generating you income, would it sustain without you? And see, most people would go, if I quit what I'm doing, the money stops.
Correct. 99.9%, correct.
Yeah. And he said, that's the first one, because he said the majority of people don't even get that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just tell them the answer to that question is, you haven't connected with the right people yet. You haven't connected with the right people yet. And we know in history that the most successful people on the planet are always attracting the best minds and the best people in the world that are doing it for them. No one gets anything accomplished huge by themselves. And he said, then if people own a company, then I ask them this next question is, would your company continue to grow and increase in revenue without you being there?
Good question.
And it's the same answer. It's like, then you haven't found the right people that you can instruct and manage. They're not the right people at the right place, because there is a difference between a group of employees that are maintaining and a group of people that are advancing momentum. See, so there's three thoughts that people, it's like the hardest is the invention, you know what I mean? The actual creation. So there's creating momentum, maintaining momentum, and then advancing momentum. And when your thoughts and focus are on finding people that are interested in being the best that they can be, and they're constantly working on Kaizen. And the way that I find those people.
Okay. No, that's a great tip. It's a great tip for sharing with us. Absolutely. But you know the saying that says that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Because
Amen.
you want to grow, you need to actually be with people who challenge you, even if it's uncomfortable, because that is how we force ourselves to grow to the next level. So Daniel, now we all are holding up this book because how this has changed our life. Now in this book, it speaks about the term a rag picker. Can you please tell us what is a rag picker and what is the purpose of a rag picker, so that those listening in will understand why we are on this call?
Yeah, simple as we said in the videos before, where we discussed it. What's a rag picker? Rag picker is basically somebody who helps people. If I can put it in a more simpler ways, people that's in distress and willing to change their lives. So it's people helping people become better people.
So what does the rag picker do?
I think that is
comes into the life and helps. What does the rag picker do?
It's basically somebody who's willing to help other people, and then for you, for the people that wants to be helped, they need to be in the mindset of, listen here, they're looking for help and willing to change and willing to be helped to change their mindset, as the way the book changed your mindset from your part.
Absolutely. Well, Robert, as it says that many people are alive, but they've already reached the expiry date.
Yeah.
And that is sad. That is sad, and that
it is.
People don't embrace the opportunity to say, let me use my imagination, let me go to the next level, because they're just trotting on from the one thing to the next thing. And sadly, until something really tough happens, like in my case, and you are down and out Beverly Hills Cops, you know what I mean? Then nothing moves you to the next level.
No.
But there's so much opportunity. And I think when people, number one, dialogue with the right people, people that can challenge you to the next level. That's why I always say mentorship. And like Daniel, when I ask him the question, let me ask my mentor. And Robert, even you and I, it doesn't matter how much experience we've had in life, we always think this person might have an angle. Let me just bounce it off.
Yeah.
So I think soundboarding becomes vitally important. And actually, it's not that coach mentor situation anymore. It's actually
No.
connectivity. It's a relationship that says, hey, Robert, what would you do if this had to happen to you? And we use and embrace that to go to the next level.
Yeah, I'm obsessed. I am totally obsessed with learning and constantly challenging myself to do more. I tell people that I still mentally in my mind is so grateful for my life that I've had. Even in the dark times that got me to a different direction and a different angle. And one of the things I love most about the book when it talked about rag picker is there's going to be a lot of people that watch this video that are going to go, I'm an introvert. Well, just give yourself every title to stop you from succeeding. I'm not a people person. I don't like people, whatever you're saying. But one of the things I loved about what the book said is, get a piece of white cloth along with a safety pin and actually put it on your shirt or your jacket, right? And what people don't realize is this immediately helps you with this, because now you're just being who you are. You're a wonderful becoming. You're moving to a new state of actually being a contributor and a go-giver instead of a go-maintainer or a go-taker. You know what I mean? But you still don't have it in the consciousness of your mind. And so this now allows the person that are extroverts and people that are just acquisitive in nature and they've worked on their personality skills. What a great person to be around. Someone that actually is joyful and they're curious and they have no problem connecting with other people. And so you're standing in a line and someone says, what's up with the piece of cloth? What's up with the safety pin? And it allows you to go, listen, I put that on there to connect with the right people. I recently got experience from a book that really is having some massive changes on my life. And here's the book. You know what I mean? And nowadays, it's like you don't carry a copy with you. You got a picture on your phone. You can say, hey, I got an affiliate link for free with Audible, and I also have one with Amazon. Give me your number. I'll send you over the links to where you can either listen or read this book. Man.
Robert, and I want to just come in there and agree with you, because I spoke to a few weeks ago, and he said to me, what can take his relationship to the next level? And I said to him, well, I'm going to send you something, because you travel to work every day and your car can become your library. I'm going to send you something and I want you to listen to that. And then you tell me. This guy phoned me back, guys. He could hardly speak, and he said, this is the most incredible thing I've listened to in my entire life. And he started speaking about the body and the whole thing. And he just said to me, I cannot believe. He said to me, I've listened to hours and hours of education traveling. The 33 minutes that you just exposed me to indefinitely will always be the most shocking, illuminating thing I've ever heard in my life. And I can tell you one thing, my wife is not the problem, I'm the problem. I'm fixing it.
Wow.
You know how awesome it was to hear that, because he was the guy that messed up. He was the guy that, took to the bottle and what have you. But just listening to that driving to work, he decided, this is it. I'm changing. So,
right.
Yeah, it's a game changer. It really is a game changer.
It totally is. And here's where you really find out if you're a go-giver or you're not giving unconditionally, you're not loving unconditionally. Is I can't tell you guys how many people have sent me messages similar to that, Dr. Ant, and they never bought anything from me. They didn't get involved in any business that I was doing. But here's a story I know that I shared with you guys that I'd love the listeners to hear. I'm not a biblical scholar in any way, shape, or form. I'm not, right? And so what I'm about ready to share with you in the story of my imagination has only something to do with my imagination. It doesn't have to do with any scriptures or study or being a PhD in theology. The thing that I have in my mind is that, you know, whatever it is that I'm standing in front of my creator, what I call the master imaginator, you know, and I'm standing there in front of him, and he just simply says the statement that he has to say to everyone because of free will and choice. And he said, so with the years that you have been given, what do you feel you've done to go to the next level? Some people believe that heaven or whatever it is, but what have you done? And I can remember sort of panicking in my imagination. I panic like, oh my God, I got to say the right thing. And then all of a sudden what happens is millions of people that already are up there go, let him in. Let that guy in. And I'm overwhelmed and I'm bawling and all the hair is standing up on my deal. And I can only imagine. And I look up and he goes, well done, good and faithful servant. And steps aside and gives me a hug, and then he points to the next level. And I thought, you know, again, none of that can be, because it's not by anyone's works that you can enter to the next level, or someone that's wealthy and, you know, it says that, you know, it'd be easier to try to pass through an eye of a needle. It's very obvious that for some people's beliefs regarding on who they are, that you can't get there by just, you know, being very successful or wealthy or whatever. There is other things that you have to do. And I just know that once that book changed and shaped who I am, and I don't stop. I've never, ever stopped. There's the best story that I have is Wanda Kay, this incredible, beautiful woman. She's just got an incredible heart. And she reached out to me one day and said, Robert, you're constantly saying that you wish you had the audios. And this has always blown my mind. You know, you look at the world we're in, and you go to audible.com and you put in the greatest miracle in the world and no one's made an audio. That's always bizarre to me. It's like, maybe the book was supposed to be read. Maybe you need to follow the certain instructions, you know, like, so when someone's giving you directions to the new you and the joy and the happiness and the fulfillment, the art of fulfillment, it's crazy how the mental mind immediately goes, what's the shortcut? I need to find the shortcut. I'm not going to physically get a copy of this, and I'm not going to physically read chapter 9 before I go to bed. You see what I mean? I need a shortcut. I need to find some kind of shortcut. And I'm just telling you, I haven't figured out a shortcut yet. And so what she did for me as a personal gift is she says, I want to read this book because I'm told I'm supposed to read it and give it to you. I'm supposed to do the Audible and give it to you. So the first one that she did was just on the God Memorandum. That's all she did. And she did it for me. And so what I did is I told her, I said, I need you to create a YouTube channel and put it on there. I don't want it just for me. And she did it really reluctantly. She said, I don't want to do this. I did this for you. It's a gift for you. And she did it. And then what she did, as soon as she did that, it got shared with a church that's very close to her home. And she went over there and they hired her to do the social media for their church.
Wow.
And this became the church that her and her family were looking for. Something weird happened, you know, years before that with the current pastor and stuff that they were dealing with. It was really sad. And now they found a new home. Now she's got a job. And I'm just like going, you know, this is just incredible. So just recently in the last year, I said, did you actually do the other chapters? And she said, I did for me. And she goes, oh my God. I go, what? you're going to ask me to load them up on my YouTube channel. I said,
Of course. Why did I challenge you?
and then I created a playlist and shared that playlist on my YouTube channel. And it's like our first, full year with our YouTube channel. It's made, made us a little over 19 grand and $19,000. And it's like, people are asking me what I'm doing, because it's not really about, it's really not about how many subscribers that you have. I'm still toying with this concept of how much money flows into my family that I immediately flow back out.
Right.
I believe that income's like a volume knob, and that starts turning it up, and then all of us go, hey, now that money's coming up, now the priorities is a new car, maybe another car, another home. It's like, the percentage that we're supposed to be giving and being a rag picker, all of a sudden that's not our focus anymore. We're like, hey, if I get to here, then I'll give. And it's like the volume knob goes down.
Yeah. But I must say, once you find out the blessing of giving is better than receiving, there's something that you cannot explain to people, because you just feel so celebrated by your Creator. Because, like you said, I want to outgive God. But you see, that mindset changed, and that's why you changed, and that's why you bring change. And back to Wanda Kay, I can be honest with you, I listen to her at least twice a week in terms of my dedication, because I can read it faster, but when I listen to her, just the pronunciation, the ease with read, what she highlights,
she's
it's
like
beautiful.
An angel.
Beautiful.
She's like an angel.
Yeah. So, Daniel, are you going to tell me the good news? Are we going to be able to get Wanda on one of our next talk shows?
I've been in contact with her, so we're just doing the logistics, because she's also like in America and a little bit busy. So yes, we will have her on here.
And send her a copy of this, Wanda.
Wanda, you're on. Absolutely. So thank you for that, Robert. I mean, that testimony, they overcame them through the word of their testimony. It's so important that you and I realize that we need to tell people that it is when we see the good things happening in our life. Like, I'll never forget my first time I spoke to you. I said, it's like you have to be plugged in, man. And you looked at me and said to me, yeah. And just do to me now that you did to me that night. I said, you have to be plugged in. Robert's the only way to get somewhere in life. And guess what he did? Robert Hollis did the following. Ta-da!
You gotta get hardwired. And it's so funny. I think that a lot of younger people that grew up on Wi-Fi, probably don't get that. They just don't get that, because, you grow up through the world, and it used to be that this had to have you. Hey, Daniel, how's your signal? How many bars do you got? You know what I mean? And I recently seen somebody, Jerry Seinfeld, that was just going, you want to see how we have our priorities messed up? It's like when the red bar comes on for the battery and you're running out, it doesn't take you long to find a charger and a place to plug in.
That's true.
And he said, so it's like people walk in, and it's like as soon as they walk into a hotel or a conference place or even a place to eat, it's like, where's the Wi-Fi? How can I plug in so I can stay connected to the world? And it's crazy how much we're focused on connection, but not connecting to the right things that feed us the most.
Absolutely.
So if we created a priority like that, you know what I mean? That, a farmer is not going to forget when he should fix the ground, prepare the field, and plant the seeds. Where I grew up around all the incredible agriculture that we have where I live is like, hey, though everyone talks about corn, and if it's knee high by July, And so, we're in July and you drive around and, almost every intersection that's close to my home, we live by Yellowstone National Park. And every corner you pull up, you got to pull up to it close because the corn is higher than your car. And it goes all the way to the corner of the property. So you got to inch your way out. It's like it's kind of in a different direction. And it's like I just don't understand why people don't understand the importance of planting seeds into other people's lives. It's like it's just I love that. I just love that.
That's why we're here tonight. So obviously, the three of us on this call because of the influence of seed that was planted, and that is Robert. You went to Daniel. Daniel came to me, and already I know that other lives are being touched because we understand how blessed it is to expose people to a new way of realizing there is a better way. So
yes,
Robert, I just want to thank you so much for the great mentor that you are both to Daniel and to myself. And I can say that publicly. They asked me a question the other day. Can you think of an influencer that really you would aspire to just sit around a table and just have a meal and just talk? Robert Hollis, your name came up, and I don't want to tell you, you and I will sit around the table and we will spend time because that's one of my goals. Because I really believe I can just tap in and just ooze in for some of that wisdom that you have. So thank you for what you're doing for the world. I'm highly inspired by you. Daniel?
Well, I just want to say in return, just like Daniel and I have been friends for a long, long, long time. And it's really, really fun when you can meet other people that also you trust enough and are connected enough that they can help you out at any time.
Thanks for that. But then again, you're an action taker. We started off tonight when you said, there was the end, you choose to take action. I mean, I look at you today.
Yeah.
I'm like a proud dad when I look at you saying, look at the man. He took action. Really, Robert, I'm so proud of you. Well done. You did.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Dr. Ant being at the right place at the right time, and it's not only being at the right place at the right time, but you need to be bold enough and believe in yourself enough to share what you know. All right. It's like Daniel could have introduced me to Dr. Ant and his wonderful wife, Doc Michelle, and he could have kept this to himself. He could have said, listen, I'm on a different path right now. I'm doing this, and this. And I just felt knowing him immediately that I wanted to do a podcast with him. And during that podcast, Dr. Ant and Daniel both have a message like they're sharing here. And you got to be open enough to pull that message out of people. And I could tell that Dr. Ant right away knew that he could open up and share with me all his wisdom that he's done in the years. And again, that was the spark for me to stop I'm disciplined in every other area of my life. Why can't I be disciplined on my physical thing? So I went on a fast for 17 days and lost 36 pounds.
Wow. But Robert, what is the beauty of what happened there? That one-liner that you came back with and said to me, and I learned to trust Robert Hollis. I learned to trust myself. That is powerful. It's because that you actually follow through. Because when you trust yourself, you will have what it takes to follow through. I'm super proud of you. Thank you for the role model that you are and for coming on tonight. I know you're a busy man. So, Daniel, we had your rag picker on. I've got my rag picker on. What would you say to people out there in terms of plugging in and getting hardwired for this book? What is your message?
As I always say, and I probably have to take it as Robert did, like make it my own. It's like if you change your mind, you can change your reality. And the only way you change your mind is by getting to know other people and asking them how they did it. Because none of us would have been here if Robert didn't take that step forward when he was introduced to this book. And so it's very important that we act on the things, the good things that's in our life. Listen, if somebody comes to you and say, listen here, read this book, it changed my life, have a go at it. It might change your life as well. To take that action, because most of the times we're too busy in our own destruction that we don't see God giving us, listen here, you're on the wrong path. This is the way out. We don't see that way. And you have to be an open mind. Be open, as Robert also said, be open to it. Be open to the change, and it will come to you.
Yes.
No doubt.
Robert, what is your final message to our listeners tonight in terms of saying there's a rugby out there and they're looking for you? What's your message?
Yeah, my thing is if you're watching this and no one's giving you permission to be you, no one's giving you permission to be happy, fulfilled, be an impact in other people's lives, I'm giving you that permission. Dr. Ant and Daniel, we're giving you that permission, because my mentors had to give me that permission. And one of the things that I know that each and every one of you, regardless of where you are, we as human beings just make everything too complex. We make it too difficult. When some of the people in the world, the smartest minds in the world, Albert Einstein, would go, if you can't explain to a 6-year-old, you know, what you're up to, what you're doing. I just love that concept. What are you up to? And another thing is people think that everything takes too much time, when you immediately can find an hour on every single day to be able to learn to do something different that'll alter and change your life forever. And that to me is programming. You know, recently I bought a brand new, Apple Max Pro, and it wouldn't connect with a Bluetooth speaker. It just wouldn't do it. I went on YouTube, looked for a bunch of videos. None of the things worked there. And then I finally got on my laptop and went on to Apple and clicked on it. And as soon as I did it, they said, have you recently updated your phone? And I go, let me look. No, it says that I caught a couple of updates here. Update your phone and then see if you have a problem. I was like, yeah, I just feel like an idiot. But people don't realize that we're all running around with beliefs and for those of you that are old like Dr. Ant and I'm just assuming, but when I put Outlook Express into my new computer, it was on 6 floppy disks. And some of you are going, what the hell is a floppy disk? Google it.
We remember. We do.
Yeah, and then it went to a CD, right? And now you can't buy a new car that's got a CD drive in it. My point being is this: if what in your life is not currently what you want it to be, you got to be willing to say, maybe it's just old programming. Maybe it's time that I click this disc out. And I upgrade. I upgrade the software, upgrade everything into it. And we all know exactly what happens when you do that. Now there's other things in your life that need to change. They're not working correctly with the new programming.
It's like it's not compatible anymore.
Correct.
And it's this constant thing in life where, I bought a new computer. But now my printer doesn't work. My monitor doesn't work. And then you look up and you find out it's like, well, listen, they got new printers and they got new monitors and new mics for that new hardware. And if you're constantly doing this with your life, which every one of you can, is just realize that it's not your fault. It's not your fault that the world is constantly, they didn't get an owner's manual and neither you don't have one either. So we take our time to learn from the teachers and the parents and the grandparents and people that have to do with our spiritual life. And we're constantly listening to the opinions of other people. And it shaped every belief that we have. And it got you to where you are, but it's not going to get you to the next level. So when you see other people out there that are enjoying the life that you know you deserve, they're doing things for charity and they have nice vacations for their family. All the stuff that other people are doing is because they have different updated programming than you, that you didn't either was aware of, or you just won't do.
Right. And you know what? We're never too late to learn. I mean, it doesn't matter how old you are. You know, old dogs can learn new tricks. Absolutely true.
Always,
So
always.
I just want to say my take on tonight is the camaraderie that I have now with the two of you as newfound friends. Nothing can pay for that. You know, because there's a sense of I can phone you at 4 o'clock in the morning and you'll say to me, and how can I help? That's the difference. Because we move at a level where we are hardwired. We decide we want to add value to people's lives. And this has moved us. And we realize we have an obligation out of gratitude to become the best rag pickers that we can possibly be.
Amen.
So here is my message to you out there. If tonight has inspired you, all I can say to you is go out, get this book, listen to the beautiful voice of Wanda Kay, when she reads this to you, goes into your subconscious, and do that and follow the recipe. Because man, if you want literally your life to work, love yourself enough to take action to get hold of this book. Because I can tell you one thing, when everything else fails, love is what keeps it together. So I want to say to Daniel van Zyl, I want to thank you for being here tonight. Mr. Robert Hollis, I want to thank you for being here tonight. And all I can say, this is Leaders Are Readers, and all you need to do is keep on reading so you can lead yourself. From me, lead yourself, inspire the world. Take care.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much.